All right, all right. Hello, everyone. I am JD Allen, and today I have guests of Bentley and Valerie Peabody, who are our husband and wife team behind the Mustang Dunes Partners. They're real estate asset managers, investors, and Bentley brings more than 20 years of property management, maintenance, and construction leadership, while Valerie specializes in asset management and value add operations with a background in landscape design. Together, they help real estate investors operate more efficiently and profitably. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourselves. How did each of you get started in the property management and multifamily?
Yeah. Hey, JD. I think I could start. I started earlier. So I like to say I started property management investment journey when I was 11. So that was when my parents bought their first rental property. And while I wasn't really actively involved in the day-to-day management, that's when we started talking about it at dinner. That's when I was exposed to this as a real thing. And then you flash forward a number of years, my early 20s, we get married. Our family buys 72 apartment units out in North Alabama. And we moved out there together to manage that.
Yeah, and that's when I really started getting involved in real estate too, because suddenly we lived in Alabama and we were running this property. So I did the management and Bentley did the maintenance, and we worked as a team and got our real world experience there.
Okay, I love that you were exposed at an early age. That's kind of awesome, Bentley. Just toss that out there. So what are your current roles and how do your responsibilities complement one another?
Yeah, you want to start on that one?
Sure. So I am the face of Mustang Dunes Partners. I'm the managing partner. So I do the client relations and investor relations, and help do that day-to-day work. And Bentley acts in an advisory capacity for Mustang Dunes Partners.
Yeah. So I still have a W-2. We're a scaling third-party property management firm with tens of thousands of doors. So it's like it keeps me pretty busy. So it's more of a come in, talk about what does the business plan look like, what is the checklist, and then Valerie really just makes sure that we're executing those business plans.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay, so looking back over your careers, what has been the biggest lesson that you've learned about maintaining apartment communities?
So I think for me, I mean, I've done a lot of roles in property management, but maintenance, I keep coming back to it. It's such a big aspect of it's successful real estate investment. So being proactive in taking care of your asset. If you ignore it, it's going to perform poorly. It's going to bite back, right? But if you take care of it, you proactively watch it, it'll last forever. If you do it right, and it will give you great financial rewards as well.
Okay, awesome. So what are the biggest maintenance mistakes that owners make that are hurting their profits?
Yeah. So I think the biggest one, it goes back to that proactivity, right? You have to go seek out the problems. Sometimes they're really loud and big and in your face, but usually there's a symptom beforehand that you didn't see and you could have prevented it, right? So great example, you have a small water leak with like a toilet supply line. So $35 repair, it can turn into a $10,000 unit remodel and maybe even a lawsuit. And sometimes if you're paying attention, you can catch it in advance. Sometimes you don't know because your resident doesn't tell you and you have to deal with it afterwards. But a lot of times you can see them first.
Okay. I'm always saying water's the bane of my existence. So
water is dangerous in property management.
Yeah. So when you walk into a newly purchased apartment property, what are the first 5 things that you inspect?
So I think I'll split this into maintenance and kind of property management operations, and I'll give you half. So from a maintenance perspective, get inside every single unit and look in the details, right? Open cabinets, look under sinks, look behind things, look under things, and then look at every single system, right? Water heater, HVAC, roofing. If it's a bigger building and it has gate systems, look at the systems. If you can bring a plumber and have them use their camera to scope out the sewer line, that can be a huge avoidance of huge pitfalls. Right.
I think that small operators often run into the situation where they just don't know what to look for. So bringing an expert with you during your due diligence and even after you've closed, all that stuff, bring in as many experts as you can, because they'll spot things that you won't know to look for.
Okay. Yeah, that's really good advice. So what separates a great maintenance program from the ones that are always just putting out the fires?
I think 2 things. It's a combination of being proactive, which we talked about, and then systems. right? Because it's like you're going to forget things. You're going to get busy. You're going to get distracted. A lot of investors, this is not their full-time gig and they're busy doing something else. You don't have a checklist. If you don't have a reminder, if you don't have blocked calendar time to do these things, you're going to forget something. Or you're like, oh, I'll do that later. So putting the systems in place and being disciplined to execute them is, I think, the difference between running around with a chicken, like your chicken with your head cut off, or being kind of, everything's calm and peaceful. In the large multifamily space, we like to sometimes say that this property runs like it's twice as big as it is, or maybe sometimes it runs like it's like a 500 unit building runs like a 200 unit building. And that almost always comes down to how well is your building maintained, and are you following your systems consistently? Because if you're not, the building gets a lot harder to run.
A small example before your resident even moves in is when your maintenance team is doing a turn on the apartment, you have a checklist that you go through and you make sure that everything is done on that checklist, down to the tiny little things like making sure the switch plates have been cleaned. And you go in before, when your maintenance team says it's done, you go in and you look through all these things, you take a little roll of blue painter's tape with you, and you put tape on all of the things that still need attention. Because if the resident moves in when there are still things that need attention, their first impression is going to be, great, I've moved into this place and there's stuff that's wrong with it already. And then you're behind. Now you're responding to a maintenance request. Whereas if you'd just taken the extra 20 minutes to come in and finish those things after they've been inspected, then you can save a lot of headaches.
And JD, it hits your bottom line too. If you have a poor move-in experience, it's not just about customer service and maybe a bad Yelp review. They are 2 or 3 times more likely to move out at the end of their first lease if they have a bad move-in experience. So they got to do it all over again, right? And turns these days cost $3,500 plus for an apartment. It's more for a single family home. And that's a nationwide average, right? Certain markets, that's more expensive. And having to do that twice as often, because they stay for 12 months versus 3 years, really affects how much profit you make.
You also don't know what the economy is going to be like in a year. It might be way harder to lease your apartment.
That's really good. But I love the way y'all are bantering here, by the way, just tossing that out there. So couple of key nuggets in that. Like if it's running like twice the size that it actually is, that's a great thing to look at. And I love the part about the blue tape, making sure you see that. So good advice.
Eventually, if you have a team that you work with regularly, either if it's a big property and you have staff, or if it's a handyman that you work with regularly, they'll know what your expectation is, because they don't want to have to come back and do it again. It really irks them when they have to come back and do it again, but that also encourages them to make sure they check all those boxes themselves.
100%.
Complacency, though, is a dangerous thing, right? So once you train someone to do it, they won't necessarily remember to do it forever.
Yeah.
Right? You think they will. Like, oh, they've got it 2-3 times in a row. Perfect. I can forget about this. Because on time 6, time 7, it'll slip a little, and then you turn around and they're not doing half of it anymore. So you have to stay on top of it.
Very good. Very good. So how much money can preventive maintenance actually save an owner?
So that's a hard one to quantify specifically, JD, but I think the answer is it's essentially all of it, right? So think about it from let's go back to that leaking supply line for your toilet. You don't catch it, it leaks, it turns into a $10,000 remodel. Maybe the resident doesn't report it, or your contractor doesn't respond quick enough. And now you have a habitability lawsuit on hand. You're not collecting rent. This one $35 repair could turn into something that's tens of thousands of dollars or more. And that was just down to maintenance and preventative maintenance. So it can be the difference between keeping a building and losing a building. I've seen lawsuits worth tens of millions of dollars based off of habitability conditions throughout my career. And that's not rare. It's not rare at the scale that I've tended to operate. I think if you have 4, 5, 6 units, it might be pretty rare, but also think about how devastating that would be if you had a $1 million lawsuit and you had a duplex, right? Like, could you recover from that? I don't think we could recover from that.
Yeah. There are excellent ways to catch those sorts of things. An annual or biannual inspection is a great way to do that. A great opportunity to get in is changing the air filters in the air handler. That should be done twice a year, ideally. and that reduces the wear on your air handler, so your equipment lasts longer if it's got a clean filter in it regularly. And then you have a chance to be in the apartment and just take a look underneath the sinks and see if there's any water damage evidence, and that way you can catch that kind of stuff. And also you can build more rapport with the resident if they're there, and you can say, I love to take this opportunity to help make sure everything is good. Do you have anything else in your apartment that you've noticed and maybe you just haven't mentioned? And they're like, actually, this is sparking. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for telling me. That's something I need to repair for you.
A super common phrase from your residents is, well, I didn't want to bother you. And it's just like, you should want to know, right? Because it takes care of the building. It takes care of your customer, your resident, right? Like they're the reason you can pay the mortgage and pay the bills and make profit off of it, and hold the asset long enough for it to appreciate and really make you some value.
And I mean, some places the management company will take care of things like light bulbs. Yeah. And you'll go in and half of their light bulbs are burned out. And it just makes the place feel bad and sad because they haven't had their light bulbs replaced. So doing that to make them feel happier and better is awesome.
Yeah. And it's an individual business decision, right? Some management companies don't do the light bulbs. If you have one building and it's across the country, the execution of getting a light bulb in there is pretty expensive and may not be worth it, right? But if it's your building next door because it's the ADU that you put in your backyard, doing the light bulb is probably fine.
That's great. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a question here. So the debate: should the tenant put in the new filters, or would you see the maintenance team doing that? Because you brought up a few good points there. The difference.
So I know a manager who does once a year inspections and brings in 2 air filters. So they replace the air filter the first time, and then the tenant is expected to replace it after 6 months. So you can do that. But I think if the tenant is supposed to replace the air filters on their own, they're probably not going to do it. They're going to forget or not care or think that the filter doesn't look that dirty, even though it actually is really dirty. So it's better to just take care of that.
And I think I'd add on to that, JD, that there's 2 core reasons you would want to do it. One, you're going to extend the life of your HVAC system a little bit, right? So that $15,000 to $25,000 cost, you could stretch out from 10 years to 12 years or 12 years to 15. That's hard to quantify. There's other reasons why it might fail. The other element is getting inside and looking for those leaks, right? The bane of your existence with the water. But can you execute that? So that's the question. If you're using a handyman who really doesn't care and you've never used them before and they're not going to give you good insights, you're probably not getting a lot of value out of putting someone inside more than once a year. But if you can put someone like maybe you do it or your property manager does it, giving you an excuse to go inside and look around, you can find unauthorized pets who may be causing damage or not paying a pet fee. You can find unauthorized occupants. We've done this and found extra partition walls put in living rooms so they could stuff more people in. I mean, it's common enough.
Cleanliness is another one.
Roach problems. So all of those things those early warning signs that you have to see them. And if you don't have your eyes on it, you can't see it. But it's probably not worth the money if you're going to use the handyman from down the street who's not going to send you any pictures or look around.
Grease in the drip pans on the stove.
That's a good one too.
Waiting for a fire. I've seen that before, and it's like, okay, I need you to clean this. I'm going to come back in a few days.
Right.
I want it to be clean.
No, I like the idea. I like the idea of sending somebody in there that's going to care and, finding the pets and all those types of things. Very, very good information. What maintenance problems should investors never ignore because they're going to lead to a bigger issue?
Water. There's others, but water is the big one at almost every single time.
Yeah.
And that could be from your roof, right? Don't ignore roof leaks. You can patch them instead of replace. You can do that, but you're gambling, right? Once you get to the end of your life expectancy on your roof and you're patching, if you time it wrong, which we've done, and you think, I got one more year, and you don't have one more year, that's an expensive problem to fix. Right? Getting a roof in there with a good roofer and a good warranty, and you're good for 20, 25, 30 years, that peace of mind has pretty good value. And assuming you have the ability to do it, are you really saving much by stretching your roof from 25 to 27 years? Over time, sure, but you also could do that by just upping the roof quality a little bit and getting a 30-year warranty versus a 25-year warranty.
And quick action too. If you have a hot water heater flood an apartment, then you got to get in there. You got to get that carpet up. You got to get blowers in there and dry it out as fast as possible, or else there are problems.
Yeah, I just had that happen recently, so I feel your pain on that one. So working together as a married couple is definitely unique. So what would you say has been the biggest advantage in building your multifamily careers together, and what challenges have you had to overcome?
You want to start with that one?
I think we work very well as a team, partly because we like being together. So yeah, so it's like when I want some alone time, I include Bentley. Yeah. So we like each other. That's a big start. You got to like the person that you're going to work with and live with, right? But trading roles has also been important over the years. When we were newly engaged, we took a pre-marrieds class at our church, and our pastor said, write down all the chores that you have to do and decide who's going to do them. Who's going to take out the trash? Who's going to walk the dog? Who's going to mop the floors? And after, I don't know, a year or so of probably just a year of being married, we realized that some of these things were either unpleasant and we weren't doing them, and the other person didn't mind doing them. We switched them around. Or like when Bentley was working for a startup, he was gone 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and come home tired. So I wasn't expecting him to take the trash out. So, you would just have to do a give and take as your jobs change, as your company grows. If you start with a fourplex, the responsibilities are a lot different than if you have 100 units, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be willing to take on new roles and also accept when you aren't good at something. Spreadsheets are not my favorite. Bentley loves spreadsheets. So I say, hey, here's a big old spreadsheet, Bentley. Break this down and tell me what I'm supposed to do with it. And he will,
Right.
I think love is a strong word with spreadsheets. Learned to tolerate over the years / like the data that I get out of it. So it's one of those, you kind of deal with it sometimes. I think the only things I would add to that is, like any partnership, be willing to give more than you think is your fair share, because the other person thinks that they're doing the same thing when it's working, right? And you're both giving 60%, then it equals 100% together, right? That phantom, I'm doing more than you perspective usually is just from your own perspective. And be mindful, it's not for everybody, right? And you have to want to spend a lot of time with that person, because you're going to. And if you need time away, even if you like spending time with that person, build it in, right? Find a way to do it, because any problem you have at work comes home with you because you're both thinking about it. That's also the strongest component of it also, though, is you solve problems maybe quicker, maybe better, because you're thinking about them. Both of you are thinking about them more of the time. So it's not that you're coming home and complaining. You're bringing that problem home that you both want to solve, because it's part of who you are. It's part of your day job. It's part of your identity as a couple as well.
We also have different kind of problem solving ways of doing things. Bentley's very linear and I'm very circular. So between the two of us, we usually find a way to solve the problem.
Have you ever woke up in the middle of the night and solved a problem?
And then remembered it in the morning?
Yeah, I remember it in the morning. No, I come up with brilliant ideas.
Y'all are like,
hey,
it's midnight. Guess what?
Sometimes we stay up late thinking about the problems, though.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. You got to try and get to sleep, because if you can't sleep, then you won't be able to think well the next day.
Yeah.
Right. That's awesome. So looking back on your journey together, what advice would you give other couples who want to build a business while protecting their marriage?
Yeah. So I think there's a few elements to that. I think we covered a lot of the marriage ones, right? Make sure you pay attention to the early warning signs in your relationship too. That applies to partnerships also, right? Like they're all important.
Another one would be assume good intent.
Yeah.
If someone is missing something or doing something poorly, don't assume they're doing it as a passive aggressive jab or something. Because a lot of times people will be like, he's not doing that. And I hate it when he does it that way. Well, did you ask if they could do it differently, or are they trying their best? And did they think that's what you wanted? So You can't harbor resentment. You have to expect that the other person is working as hard as you.
Yeah. And then maybe two thoughts. Like one good segue from that is it's not you versus your spouse.
No.
Right? It's you and your spouse versus the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And if you're keeping that perspective in mind, even when maybe you don't agree on the solution, or maybe one of you isn't executing to the extent the other would like, if you're focused on solving the problem, which is external, then it really keeps the relationship a lot stronger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then find a team. Like we did this way too late. I'm an operator of properties, right? I know how to operate this professionally. It's not enough to be an investor, right? You need a team of people around you.
And a mentor like JD. Because again, coming back to that thing I said earlier about not knowing what to look for, if you're both just making the same mistakes, you're not going to have any progress. You need to have someone like you, JD, to talk to and say, hey, I think we're missing something, but I don't know what it is. Can you help us workshop this and find out what's going to help us break through, help us be more successful?
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm learning something new every day too. So I feel like it's always a learning process, and that's the one thing I love about the students, and I actually like bouncing things off of you as well. So it's awesome.
Yeah, you talk to enough people in this industry, and you're not going to run out of stories that you've never heard before.
100%. So do you have any final thoughts how about from both of you?
So what we haven't covered already, I think maybe going back to the team element, right? I think that's been a big lesson for us in the last little while. Getting a team, finding where you're bad at, like Valerie said earlier, the things the spreadsheets that you hate doing, find someone who's good at those. There's people who love the things that you hate. Bring them on your team. Make sure you have a good relationship with them too, right? Like that's super important. That doesn't mean they have to be a partner in your actual physical asset, but somebody who can help support you in areas where you aren't strong, or you don't want to be strong, or you don't have time to spend attention.
If you're a member of something like the One Deal Millionaire Network, then there's a group of people you can ask questions about, like, hey, I'm looking at a duplex. Does anyone here know about duplexes and can help me out? How do you do it? Just having a bunch of people that are trusted you can talk to is really helpful in every step of the journey.
Yeah. And say yes a lot, right? So I heard a great phrase. I can't remember who said it, but go through life with a propensity to say yes, right? So it's like, if you could say yes or no, lean towards yes more often, because you'll figure it out generally, like when you're going through it.
Very good. All right. Well, I've enjoyed having you all on here. And again, I appreciate you and look forward to seeing more of you.
Yeah,
Excellent.
this was
JD,
fun.
it was nice
Thank
chatting.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.